Back. Sorry, I don't know. It was probably because we showed a video of Ian at the very beginning of the show.
Oh,
It probably
no. I
did
think,
it.
you know what? It's because I said something negative about the Book of Faces. This happened. So, like,
That's what
we're
happens.
just we're just
Yeah,
going to refer to it as the website that shall be not named.
that's
Okay? Like,
right.
we're going to treat it like, the dark one,
Right.
Baltimore.
Okay, where were we? We were getting ready. I think we were talking about being a good community because we're managing trolls. I think, Paul, is what you were talking about before. So, do you want to kind of finish that thought and talk about how you manage, dealing with keeping, I guess, your community as a safe spot and some place where people feel good when they come in and not have to deal with all that negativity?
Yeah, I encourage my moderators, and we are very heavy-handed. We take a very active role, and we will shut down stuff quickly. And we do not hesitate to suspend, ban, whatever needs to be done. So I love the idea, some of the new tools Facebook has where you can suspend somebody for 24 hours or 48 hours. Sometimes it's just, that's what people need, is just a cool off period. And so we take a very active role in making sure that things don't degrade. And I know we'll talk about it later, some of the new admin tools. We also have some things turned on in admin assist to make sure that things don't go down a bad path.
That's great. So Ian says he just finished reading 1984. It sounds like the Thought Police shut you down. Yeah, that was probably what happened.
Right.
That's what
What
went on.
It's my big mouth got us in trouble again, Ian. I'm sorry. So we have this question that comes up frequently when we talk about Facebook groups, and this one comes from our friend Jim Fuse. So, Jeff, if you have that queued up, ready to go, let's play Jim's question here.
Especially when some of the other things going on with Facebook, and is it a strong area, especially when some of the other things going on with Facebook, and is it better to have a private group versus a public group, especially if you are maybe talking about some stuff that, if you want to call it, is sensitive that you don't want shared outside the group? Would love to know that.
So for me, it really depends on the situation. I highly encourage everybody, if you're going to start a Facebook group, you need to start one that is public. Again, going back to what I was saying earlier before we stopped, Facebook is promoting public groups, and they want you to have a public group, and they want you to, they're going to have tools, and they're going to push that stuff out for you. So you should start one public group. Now, for sensitive topics, we have a private group for powwows.com too. For people that are looking to trace their family heritage, they're looking to do genealogical research. That was hard today. we take that group and we make it private, because that is people having very sensitive conversations. And that's the issue of, documenting your family. Not only is it private information, but it can be controversial on some of that too. So we make that group private, and you have to, request to be a part of that. So it really depends on the situation. But if you're going to only have one group, have it public, just because that's the way Facebook wants it right now. And that's the way you're going to get the best exposure.
So we had a question earlier, and I apologize because I can't pull it up because the stream died. It was pages versus groups. She was asking.
Oh, it was Catherine.
Yeah,
it was Catherine Lang, and she says groups versus pages. She says, I already have a page. Should I also add a group?
So groups are the place where you can really engage with your community, and they engage back. I think of pages as your place to shout out your messages. Yes, people can respond, and yes, there's comments, but it's not really a two-way dialogue. You're not really having conversations. My page is just feel like it's, hey, we're doing this. Hey, there's this. Hey, there's this. Where the group is, we are going in and we're having long discussions. We're posting a topic or a question, and people are going back and forth with it. So that's the place where community is. You can have community on your pages, and we do with powwows.com, but the group is really where the community is going to live and grow. And so it is two different things, at least what I've found.
It's a great point. Yeah, because I know I haven't done a group because, one, I don't want to have to manage it, but I can see your point on that because, and I've noticed that in Facebook, the reach on pages have shrunk to almost nothing, and being able to have that group where you can have community and build that, I think what you've been saying before, and having that be public is super critical. So I
Right.
want to dive right into something that's kind of new. And I want to know if you think it even matters, Paul, because you mentioned you use these new audio rooms, which every platform, it seemed, when the Clubhouse bandwagon hit, that everybody wanted to jump in on it, and Facebook's no exception. So have you used them? Do you think they're still relevant? Kind of tell us what you've done with them.
Okay, so I'll preface this by saying I have a biased opinion. I was part of the Facebook Community Accelerator a couple of years ago, and I was in some of the testing for Facebook audio groups. So I have a little bit of a biased opinion. I just want to make sure I put that out there first. So audio groups, yeah, everybody came out with a Clubhouse killer, right? Trying to copy that. Audio rooms on Facebook can be a great tool, and it goes back to, it just really depends on your audience. So we had the most successful audio room we've done is we scheduled one ahead of time, we promoted it, and we had a topic about the missing and murdered Indigenous women crisis in North America. If you're not familiar, there's a real problem with our Indigenous women going missing, being killed, being victims of assault, sexual abuse, and all kinds of other things. It's a horrible topic. And so we brought in a couple of experts, and we really dug into that topic, and we felt like it was a more safe place to just have an audio conversation and to have a little bit more of an intimate feel. That one was super successful. I've used audio rooms since then in several different ways, and I think it's a really good tool, again, to talk to your community. I love the ability that I can start an audio room, just grab my phone and start talking to the community. And if people are there and have questions, I can bring them on stage and let them interact too. It's a really quick way and easier than sometimes going live, because we
Right.
feel like we're not camera ready, or we're like I did one time. So my daughter's in marching band, and we were before a competition. I was doing my setup was over by myself, and I had 15, 20 minutes. And so I just jumped on before the competition started and had an audio room, and we had a nice discussion. It's great for that. I feel like it's a really easy, impromptu way to interact with the community. Now, having said all that, Facebook really put a lot of effort and energy into it and promotion into it a few months ago. I don't know if they're still doing it. Some of the audio rooms I've done recently hasn't gotten as much traction as they did a few months ago. You never know with Facebook where they're putting their attention, and so is the algorithm really going to pick it up? I don't know. It's something we'll continue to experiment with and use. It's probably not going to be a priority for us in our community right now.
And I also wonder if it's because now we actually can put on pants and go outside. If people are using, audio rooms, like,
Yeah,
just because,
sure, right.
you should put on pants
Some
and
of
go
us,
outside. That's just
some of
important to
us
say.
never stopped wearing pants, Jeff.
Well,
Just saying.
just important safety tip. If you go outside, pants are
Wear pants.
encouraged. So Ian asked this question, and before we go on to our next section, I want to bring this up because I think this is interesting. He goes, "I'll be creating a Facebook group as soon as I hire a community manager. It's not something I think I can do on my own." So I want to talk about that. First of all, Paul, do you get volunteers out of your group, and what do you look for to have somebody help with your community? And
Right.
should you wait until you're grown big enough that you need a community manager, and what do you need to look for to hire one or whatever?
So Facebook groups can be a ton of work. I agree, Ian. It is a little bit scary, and especially if your group really starts growing, it's a lot of effort to approve members, look at new posts, watch the comments, all of that. Yes. So when I talked earlier about how powwows.com got started, our origins was on the old forums, vBulletin. If anybody remembers vBulletin,
Yeah.
Lou and I like to reminisce about the old days of vBulletin. It was great. So when we were on vBulletin, we had a huge team of like 30 or 40 moderators, and those were all volunteers that organically came out of the community. With Facebook groups, we're doing the same kind of thing. We're looking at people that are creating good topics, are really engaging in the comments, making insightful posts, helping other people. And when we see them, we'll talk to them about them helping out and moderating. So yeah, we use a lot of community volunteers for moderating. Now, I also So go back a year, I did have some paid people helping manage the Facebook group, especially handling new members. Now we've been very fortunate. I was able to wrap a whole bunch of these contractors that I had into one role, and now my wife is
There you go.
doing all of that. That combined with her travel, she's a travel planner too. So that combined with her travel planner, that's now her full-time responsibility, is managing some of the community aspects, as well as her travel stuff. So yes, I still can't kind of count that as we have somebody that is a paid person managing the Facebook groups. So and again, some of these things that are daily just tasks, when your group gets bigger, you are going to want to have some help. But again, if you have an active community, you can get, especially in the beginning, you can get help from your community. Look to your members and find those people that are very active, and talk to them about being a moderator. You'll find some really great people right there in your community that can help out.
That's awesome. That's great advice. So Ian, there's no excuse. You need to start a group. So,
Start a group.
and as Sabrina says, yes, as a community manager, it is a lot of work, which is very, very true. And that leads me to our second segment that we're going to talk about. Is like, you're doing all this work. You kind of want to, you're not doing it just, you may, for the goodness of your heart, but you may want to make some money at this. So we're going to talk about some ways to monetize your Facebook group, because, Facebook has rolled out recently some new ways that you can actually monetize your Facebook group. First of all, community shops and fundraisers, and it's kind of mirroring features that are elsewhere on the platform. If you see that with just some pages that are doing it. Community shops are an extension of Facebook's existing features and allow group admins to sell themed merch or other goods. And likewise, fundraisers will enable admins to crowdfund specific projects or otherwise offset the costs of running the group, which is what we just talked about. And also paid subgroups. So those are subscription-based subgroups, and they're actually smaller groups within a group where members pay a monthly fee to participate. And you can have these subgroups for free. In fact, Paul has some that I wanted to talk about a little bit. When I went into his group, I just noticed them as well. And it's a paid version of the free subgroup feature, and it's kind of the latest effort for them to do this subscription-based product that you see rolling out on Facebook and Instagram. So talk about, Paul, how you're using subgroups in your Facebook group, right? Your Facebook group now, Powwow Nation. I would love to know, because I thought that was really interesting when I dove in there.
Yeah. So again, going back to our vBulletin days, we had lots of forums set up, all kinds of different topics, not just Powwow related, but we had just general life topics. So that's something we've been experimenting with, subgroups. And again, I miss those vBulletin days, because in the sub forums and vBulletin, you could set special permissions in subgroups. So one of the things we're experimenting with is having a subgroup designed for people to ask questions if it's their first time or they're new to powwows, and kind of have that safe space and not ask a question. And here, I'll give you an example. In our community, in the powwow world, when people come in and use the word costume to describe what dancers are wearing, it can be offensive to some people. Now, what I always try to tell people, because we get new people coming in and they don't know that word is offensive. So they'll come into the main Facebook group and they'll ask a question about, hey, I saw this costume. What does it mean? And that will just lead into this big, long discussion, and they don't get their question answered. So we're trying to create some safe spaces for people to come in and ask those kind of questions and not feel like they're getting attacked. And then be able to educate them and say, that's probably not the right word. You didn't know that, but here's a better way of doing it. So that's what one of the ways we're experimenting with subgroups. I'd love to eventually, hopefully, as Facebook evolves these subgroups, I'd love to take our 3 separate Facebook groups we have now and be able to combine them all into one Facebook group, and have a marketplace, and have the one for genealogy, and all be one home. So I'm hoping that's as subgroups evolve, that will happen. We haven't done a paid subgroup. I know you mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't done one yet. That's probably something, again, now that my role in powwows.com has changed a little bit, now that I've retired from my day job, we're going to look at other things like that and look and see if that's something that will fit our community. It is a great feature, and I know lots of people are using it really well. somebody earlier was asking about paid or private versus public. The subgroups is a great way to have a public group with a private component, especially with a paid
Mm.
subgroup. You can kind of restrict it there too. So yeah, it's a really cool feature.
So before we move on,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, are there any other ways that you're monetizing your group? Because, I know you kind of did this at first to kind of to build community. And a lot of times you don't want to go and, monetize your community because that can be a little skeevy and sleazy feeling. But you also have to keep the lights on. So are there any other ways that you're monetizing your group? Maybe not in an overt way, but in a different type of way?
Sure. So number one, our main revenue at powwows.com is advertising. So we do use the group as a way to drive traffic back to the website. So if we have a big promotion or giveaway or some kind of content that we want people to do, we are promoting that in the group and hoping that we can get traffic off the Facebook platform to our website, because that is our number one source of revenue. But we're also doing some other things too that indirectly benefit and monetize. We've done a Facebook live event or a paid live event. We actually had somebody come in and do a special concert presentation, and we that was paid. So that was really cool, and that was really direct monetization. Other things we're doing too is, and I think you have this on the agenda to talk more about later, but we are using a tool called Group Funnels to help get emails out of the group, and then we can really market to them a little bit better with our email marketing. But for the most part, I don't look at our group as a revenue stream. I look at it as the place where the community is just going to go. And a lot of time, I do go in the group and I interact and I post questions, but a lot of times for our group, I just try to stay out of the way and let the community, engage with themselves.
That's a good, and I could tell you're a Lou Mongello disciple, because that's one of the things he always says. Like, he built the community and everybody else plays in it. So it's that philosophy is like you build it and you interact and give things for them to talk about, but you kind of stay out of the way. So I think that's really, really cool. So let's dive into our next section, Grace. And this is going to be really interesting to a lot of people, is the Facebook group management tools.
Yeah, so a few weeks ago, Facebook announced some new features to help group admins. We touched on a little bit about the reasons why, but one of them is the ability to automatically decline incoming posts that have been identified as containing false information by their third-party fact checkers. There's also a number of new features to help admins more efficiently manage that flow of comments. Some of them is the ability to mute or suspend, so admins and mods can temporarily suspend members from posting, commenting, reacting, participating in group chats, or creating and entering rooms in the group. And then the other two features I thought was really cool for promotion. One is the QR code. Of course, QR codes had their glow up over this last couple of years. We didn't realize how cool they were until our lives depended on them. So now you have the ability to generate a QR code, which you can copy and paste and share everywhere to get the group across. Sometimes it's clunky to get that URL just right or whatever. And then the other one is the option for admins to send invites by email, which ties into what you're talking about, creating email funnels with your groups. So those are the things that were just announced a few weeks ago. Paul, have you implemented any of these new tools in the way that you manage your group, and what do you think of them?
They're awesome. Yes. But I do want to back up. I forgot, Jeff mentioned it and I forgot to mention it, say it in the monetization. We are using the new shop feature in our Facebook
Oh
group.
yeah. Yeah, let's talk
That is
about that.
something still new. Yeah. That's something that's still rolling out. But it allows you to sell products directly in your Facebook group. So if you have it turned on in your page, you can take those same products and post them in your group. It can be a little difficult to set up because you have to get into the Facebook Business Manager part and set up your store. But for me, like, we run everything through a Shopify. So you can, on your Shopify, you just install the Facebook app and it takes care of all that for you. And it takes all of your inventory and posts it on your group automatically as you create new products. If you're selling merch, it is a great way to easily get your stuff into the group. And Facebook, the tool is really nice. And so again, with Shopify, I'm able, every time I create a new product, it automatically just promotes it in the group. And so that's a really cool tool. If you are selling merch, do go check that out. It's really, really helpful.
So does
Now, go ahead.
go ahead. I was gonna
Go
ask,
ahead.
does the tool allow you to just like if I see a product, some beautiful beadwork in your group and I want to buy it, can I automatically just buy it in the group? It takes me through the payment and then it's you get my order and then it comes to me, or are there any other steps involved on the setup end or the user end?
Right. So there's a couple of different ways you can set it up. You can choose to let the checkout process happen right on Facebook. And of course, Facebook, that's the way they're going to prefer it. They want the money to run through their platform.
Yep.
With I've set it up the other way where the payment processing happens on Shopify just because,
Okay.
not to get too deep into it, but I use print on demand. And so Shopify handles paying the people who are printing the shirt and then
Yeah.
giving me, sending me the rest of it. And so if I do the checkout on Facebook, some of that breaks. But you can do it either way. And so if you are just selling a few products, turning it on and letting Facebook handle the whole transaction is going to be a great user experience and really, really quick to eat and easy for people to buy a product and just check out.
So what is the cut? Does Facebook take a cut of your sales, or how does that work with Facebook shops?
Currently, there is not a cut. I am sure that they are going to
That's right.
they're going to have something soon. But I think they're also looking at ways for them to monetize this and put it into their ad ecosystem so that you can start boosting products and promoting products more than others. So it's coming. Right now, they are just promoting it and letting you do it all free. Facebook's good at that. They want to give you
Right.
it
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So I'm glad we talked about shops because that was one of the big things. Thank you for putting the brakes on that because that's super important because I think we're seeing that across all the networks and everything is the monetization and selling products of, for creators to be able to do that, which I think is great. And the platform that's going to have the lowest amount of friction, I think is going to be the one that wins. And I love that you're saying that Shopify kind of can integrate with that, and hopefully that will come easier because I used to set up e-commerce websites back in the day, and Shopify is amazing. I would have killed for that back when I did it because it was.
I know, right?
Oh my
God,
gosh, it's so easy now. Yeah.
It's the tools are amazing, and so it's really letting a lot of people sell products and create businesses that's so much faster. Um, so we'll switch now and talk about these admin tools, which I think is
Yeah.
Ian, who was worried about hiring a community manager. Some of these tools can really help you get over that hurdle until you have some other people and processes in place. We use these tools in a couple of ways. One, for new members, we do have some rules turned on so that if you're requesting access to the group and you don't have certain things, we're not letting you in. But more importantly, we have these admin assist tools set to, again, you were talking about, the political problems and the trolls and all of, things starting to go down a bad path. And, once we all know what happens, and once a couple of people get in an argument or
Right.
some of these, it's just going to go downhill real quick. So these admin tools now let you put things in place. Like if a post gets so many comments within a certain time period, slow down the commenting. And then we can put another rule in place. If it continues, then close commenting. And all that happens automatically, and we don't have to even go in there because we all know, I mean, these things can happen so quickly that you don't even have time to react, even if you're getting notifications. And in large groups, notifications can be overwhelming. So these things can really degrade quicker than you can respond. So these admin tools are awesome for that. And like we even have it turned on, like if you don't have a profile picture set, your post is not approved. We want to make sure that we keep all the spam out and the bots out. And yeah, these groups are really, or these tools now are really helpful to set up some basic procedures in your group and to kind of at least take that first layer of management and maintenance off of you.
That's really cool. So a couple of questions that I have. I know they have these things now where you can actually, instead of, a lot of times it's like you could just ban somebody or, whatever. And now there's like, you can put them in timeout, kind of pretty much like, go think about what you've done kind of a thing. So, and even Gary says, it's really awesome with all these, group mods, help them run a good and great group.
Yep.
So talk about the timeout kind of thing. And do you have rules in place that you use for that? And also, is there a way to ban like specific words? Like you mentioned that there's a problem when people come in and talk about costumes, and that kind of can upset and inflame the community because they just don't know any better. Can you set certain like key words to have different modifications on them or not?
I don't know if you can set it to have automatic like actions. What we do is there's a keyword alert feature in the group. So we turn it on, and so that if certain words are posted, then all of the admins will get and moderators will get a notification immediately, so that you know what's happening. So we have a few of those turned on. That's really helpful. And because this stuff happens so fast.
So
It's crazy. Yeah.
It
so
really is. Go ahead.
I was going to say on the fast thing, I know some people have it like set up, and I don't know how you would manage this, but that every post has to be approved before it's live. You know, they'll have it like you do that as well.
We have that turned on. Every new post has to be approved by a moderator or admin. And again, that takes a lot more work. And sorry, Ian, I know we keep putting more work on top of you,
Right.
but it does take a little bit more effort. But we want to make sure that, one, we keep spam out. Two, that somebody's not posting just to start a fight. And of course, we're also trying to keep out, there's people trying to do self-promotion or things like that. And we have a lot, because of the size of our group, we'll have a lot of people joining. And I guess this kind of falls into the spam category, but we'll have people like, they'll create a post that might be a really good topic, and they'll post it in their own group and then share it from their group to our group, just, trying to get that cross promotion instead of just organically posting it in our group. So we try, when that happens, we'll delete it, but we'll talk to them and be like, hey, look, I understand what you're trying to do. Let's figure out a better way to post that kind of content. And so we do that a lot too. But yeah, every post has to be approved by a mod for us.
Gotcha.
And how long is your turnaround time on like when you what do you try to get them approved within a day, because I understand for a group your size. I mean, 98,000 people, that's a lot to manage. I do not, but I'm in some groups where there's 20 people and they have that on, and I'm like, seriously? Like I could
Right.
call all of you and I could call all of you and ask this question before you get to it, right?
Group Facebook. Yeah. So we try to clear the queue every day.
Yeah.
And so like I said, my wife is now one of the main admins in that group. And so she goes through a couple times a day and tries to clear out all of the pending posts. So we try not to let anything go more than a day. Of course there's going to be times where you're traveling, but we have mods too that are in there, and they're cleaning it out a couple times a day. So most of the time a post is not going to sit waiting to be approved more than a few hours.
That's good.
So
Ian has a really great.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
I was going to call out Ian's question. He says, do you use any third-party tools for your Facebook group, or should these be avoided? I'm curious what those third-party tools could be. What do you have in mind?
There's some third-party tools that can help you schedule posts, those kind of things. We don't use any of those. The best third-party tool that we use in Facebook groups right now is Group Funnels. I wish I had an affiliate link. I would post that right now. But Group Funnels for us is awesome. What it allows you to do is, you can ask questions for groups, for people that are looking to join your group. One of our questions is, hey, do you want to subscribe to our newsletter? If so, leave your email address. And Group Funnels takes those questions, automatically puts them in a Google Sheet, which then we can set up automation to move into our email list. It is fantastic. We have grown our list over 10,000 people in the last year just by doing that.
Okay, so I want to dive into this before we wrap things up, because I know at Momentum you spoke a lot about email marketing and how groups have funneled it into your list. Which, for everybody listening, this is the mic drop moment, because he's siphoning people from his group into his list, which he owns. Facebook. We always talk about building our on rented land. The way you're 10,000 emails siphoned off. Facebook. What is your strategy? I mean, do you do it once a week? I mean, kind of give us some of your strategy on how you do this, because
Right.
I think people starting out, even small groups, that they need to start this process now as it grows, because it's just going to, bless them more down the line.
Yes, for anybody who is starting out, whether building a business, starting a Facebook group, starting a Facebook page, the number one thing you should always do, what I tell people, is start your email list immediately. You want to own your followers and your customers. And the only way you can do that is with an email list. So what Group Funnels allows us to do is create this automation, and it happens. It's not once. I'll back up. When we started asking people for their email addresses, I hired a VA that would go in there once a day, collect all the email addresses, and then approve the members. With the size of our group, that got to be a little overwhelming, and people were waiting 2 and 3 days to be approved just because of the volume. Mm-hmm. So I looked for and found a tool, Group Funnels, and it does that now. Whenever, and my wife now handles all of the group approvals. So whenever she hits approve on a new member, that email is put instantly into our email list.
And why would they give you their email? What's the, do they have to give the email to join the group? Because I know some groups do that, right. But what is the incentive that they get for joining your list?
Right. So we don't make it a required field. We would love for you to, but we know that some people don't want to give out their email addresses, and that's okay. And so it's an optional group or optional field for us. But what we're encouraging people to do is, it is your way to subscribe to powwows.com. And we use our newsletter. Probably the number one thing that people look to our newsletter for is we send out notifications and updates to the Powwow Calendar. So going back to people wanting to visit powwows and wanting to experience Native culture in person, our Powwow Calendar is the number one resource for that. And we send out an email twice a month with all the updated listings. And you can get that, if you're on our list, then you get that sent right to you. And so people want that information. And that's probably the number one reason why people subscribe.
Gotcha. And so does your email go out once a week, or does it go out like once a month? How frequent do you email your list about the new powwows that are coming out?
New powwows we email out on the 1st and the 15th of the month. And then, of course, we have lots of sequences and drip campaigns that are happening all throughout the week. So broadcast messages, we're sending out that one on the 1st and 15th. We're sending out a weekly update newsletter once a week. So usually it's maybe 2 broadcast messages a week, maybe more if we're doing a promotion or something like that.
Gotcha. All right. As we wrap up, I wanted to ask you, what's your secret sauce to growing a great group? I mean, you grew from 0 to 97,000. Now, it didn't happen overnight. You've been doing this for what, 20 years, something like that?
Long time. Yeah, 25 years for the community itself. So there isn't, I wish there was one secret thing. What I have found is that we continue to post good quality content in the group and on our page. And we've tried to really identify who we're marketing to. And what we at powwows.com are doing is trying to promote Native American culture to anybody, whether you grew up on a reservation, you're full-blooded Native, or whether you are new and an ally and just want to learn more. We are trying to just promote and raise awareness of Native American culture. So that's our mission. And we make sure all of our content really is focused on that and trying to be as positive as we can. And so then we just use the tools, whether it's our Facebook page or our Facebook group, and promoting that content and interacting. And then, we go back to what Lou said, you continue to put out the content that you want to read and that you believe in, and the people like you will find you and come and join. So there really isn't, for me, there isn't a magic bullet. It's just persistence over time, and it will happen.
A follow-up question to that. When you moved from your bulletin board over to Facebook group, did you get a lot of pushback? Did you lose a lot of people? I have an idea of the answer to that, but
sure. Well, I will tell you that it wasn't, because Facebook groups weren't immediately available when social media was really coming onto the scene. And I remember I should go back and look at Google Analytics. I mean, there were times when we were getting literally tens of thousands of posts a day on our forums. And then with Facebook, it just, the traffic just tanked.
Mhm.
I remember getting messages during that time of people that were longtime users and friends of the forums writing me and said, Paul, man, hey, the forums were great. Had a good time. It was a good run, but powwows.com's dead. I'm out. I'm over. I'm going head into Facebook. And we got dozens of messages like that. And it was hard. It was, for us, it was a real shift in how we had to do things and how we had to really look at social media differently. So it wasn't something that just happened overnight. It took a couple of years to figure out how to use Facebook to continue to grow the community. And it works now for us, and we have a very successful group, but it wasn't easy. And it was something we really had to work at over a long period of time to make that transition from forums to Facebook.
Mm. Well, yeah, thanks for that. I mean, anytime you move, it's super, super hard, and you always can't make everybody happy. So, last question, Gary asked, what platform were you using to manage your email?
Sure. I'm using ConvertKit.
Okay. That's what I use too. Thanks, Gary, for asking that question. By the way, before we wrap things up, I forgot to do it earlier, but I want to do another shout out to our sponsors over at eCam, socialmedianewslive.com/eCam. If you noticed that our stream died in the middle of this, well, I would not be able to reset it as fast as we did without the amazing people over at eCam. They make it really easy to stream to multiple platforms and get things back up and running. So thanks to them. It's an amazing tool. I love it. I used it way before they were a sponsor. socialmedianewslive.com/eCam. And Paul, you have been amazing. You had a great talk at Momentum. You're not only an expert in Facebook groups, but community building, email marketing, all sorts of things. But where can people go and find out more about you, and what do you have coming up that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, so I'd love to talk more about to people if you're looking to grow your business. PaulGouder.com is that place, and I mentioned it earlier. I retired from my day job, and now this is my full-time gig, working powwows.com and the paulgouder.com. And so I really want to help you. Over 25 years, I've had some ups and downs. And like I was just talking about, a challenge where Facebook killed our community for a long time. I want to help you try to find ways to break through those barriers and really level up your business. So yeah, reach out to me. I'd love to help you. And I do have to say a special shout out. I saw Chad mention my shirt, so thank you for that in the comments. And he also mentioned some of the issues with Disney and Native American culture. I actually did a Facebook Live about that a couple of days ago. There have been some issues there. Again, jump over on our group. I'd love to talk more about that with you too.
Yeah, and it's a great group. And thanks, Paul, so much for being here today. Thank you guys for all your great comments. That was like the second comment about your shirt. So they really loved your shirt, by the way. And Paul has an invite. I'm sure he's going to come over there shortly. But make sure you guys go check us out over on Volley, and that's where we're talking about everything at socialmedianewslive.com/chat. You saw we were able, and with their permission, of course, I was able to bring some videos in for people asking questions from our guests. I think that is super cool. socialmedianewslive.com/chat. We'd love to see you guys there. And always thank you to the amazing Grace Duffy,
Aw.
who does an amazing job helping produce this show and everything she does behind the scenes and being such a great host, all that stuff. Grace, where can people find out more about you?
Well, we are kicking off our live show series over on Restream. So come join me this Thursday over on YouTube's Restream channel. Yeah, I wish. Restream's YouTube channel. Excuse me. I'm actually interviewing our friend Luria Petrucci about an event that she produced, was involved in, involving getting more women and non-binary people interested and involved in crypto. So that is way out of my wheelhouse. I have so come watch me navigate that fun, as if watching me navigate this show every week is enough. But and we'll be back again next week. Next week is April Fool's Day, so hopefully we'll have some fun and folly to fall back on next week. But
Awesome.
this has been great. In spite of technical difficulties, thank you for everyone for hanging with us, and for Paul for staying a little bit after and he's been so generous with his time and his knowledge, and he kept me and Jeff on track with this show, believe it or not. So
yes, we need all the help with that, as you know. So our next show is on Friday, April 1st at 11 a.m. Central, 10 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central. You can find us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Amazon Live. Thank you so much, Paul, for being here. Thank you to all our people in the audience, Sabrina, Gary, Chad, Ian, as always, all of you folks who chimed in with some great questions. Chris Stone was here. Thank you for jumping over streams with us as we had some issues. And with that, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks, everybody. Bye now.
Thanks.
Like that.
Right, you got us over here looking like a hot mess.
No, it's actually a powerful live streaming app for Mac called Ecamm Live. So you're able to use your mirrorless camera as a virtual webcam, and you can tweak the colors right in Ecamm Live using their camera effects, and then bring this video right into Zoom, Google Meet, and pretty much any other virtual meeting app. You can even stream directly to Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn and bring in comments right onto the video.